Who you work with matters. The company that they work for matters. A good loan officer can make or break a transaction, and a bad one might cost you time, money, and the house of your dreams. So today we're talking about loan officers. What makes for a good loan officer, and why does this matter for you if you're out there shopping for a loan or a property? Welcome back to Keeping Your Business on Track. I'm Joe Harris, and I'm here with Nick Morgan. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing well, Joe. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just super excited to be talking about loan officers.
Yeah, man.
And, this is something that a lot of people don't realize, is that a loan officer has a lot to do with the success or failure of your transaction, of buying a home, your experience, how you feel about it, a lot of these things.
For sure, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to think about it, but one of the ways you can think about it is they're controlling the means in which you have to purchase that property, right? So the person controlling that has a lot of power. Yeah,
right. They have power, but they also have the means to help you get things you didn't even know that you needed, right? Or be explained things. A lot of people think that a mortgage is a commodity. It is a commodity, but how you get it is a service, and it will make a big difference. It could even save you a lot of money. And a lot of homeowners out there are thinking, oh, I just need to talk to a loan officer to go through those steps so I can get to what I want. And it'd be like me going to a doctor going, hey, listen, I looked on Google, here are my problems, here's what I need, and I just need this. If you just give me the script, I'll be good and on my way.
Yeah.
Well, obviously a doctor can't just give you that script. They've got to take a look at you. They've got to examine you, maybe run some tests so they can make sure that they're doing the right thing for you and they're not just sending you out the door with what you came in asking for.
Yeah.
And a lot of people treat their loan officer like that. They just say, hey, listen, what's your rates and fees and when can you close by? There's a lot more to it than that. And I don't think a lot of people realize what a good loan officer can do for them.
Yeah, totally. And when I say they have a lot of power, I mean they have a lot of responsibility, right? And so you want someone who can handle that with the best of their abilities. And like you talked about with a doctor, hopefully they can identify some stuff, some underlying things that can help you and find some creative solutions for you, everything along those lines.
Yeah, it's possible that I am a certifiable Google doctor, right?
Right.
But my doctor is an actual doctor.
Exactly.
And he has a few more data points than I do, a little bit more experience, a little bit more expertise. So it stands to reason that in my research, I might have missed something.
Right.
Maybe I misdiagnosed myself, right? God, 100% of the time. I mean, and so that doctor is going to have insight that I didn't have or experience, saying, well, I've seen this before, and last time we did this and it worked real well, right? So it's the same thing with a good loan officer. A lot of people don't realize you call that 1-800 number, you call that big box bank, you might get exactly what you're looking for.
Right.
Maybe. But maybe what you're looking for isn't absolutely the right thing.
Yeah.
But Joe, I've done this a million times. I've bought 3 homes in my lifetime, right? A good loan officer does 3 to 4 deals a week, and they've been doing it for years with hundreds and hundreds. And a good company has done thousands of loans, right? So it does matter who you work with. And I got 4 things that I think really make the loan officer, a good loan officer.
Right.
So the first thing we'll talk about is ability to find creative solutions, right? Creative solutions. You might go to the loan officer thinking, I'm perfect, this should be no problem, I can afford the payment. And then you get in there and there's a blemish on your credit, or your debt to income ratio might be too high. While a lot of lenders out there might just say, listen, you don't qualify. Thank you, good luck, right? Whereas a good loan officer is going to find a solution to your problem. They're going to look at your assets, your income, your debts, your liabilities and debts, and figure out a way to make them all work together.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll look at the holistic approach. And these might be a difficult for unforeseen issue, but they're going to look at a holistic approach and say, listen, if you pay these things off, you don't have to put as much down. Your mortgage or payment's going to be less, and your overall debt situation is going to improve, or you're going to have less money coming out every month. And that's just one example of many where a good loan officer can make a pretty big impact, on the transaction.
Yeah, totally agree. I think it's one of those aspects where it's the unforeseen circumstances and, not the cookie cutter people and how they handle what might have been a perfect borrower, and then, like you said, something comes up that it happens all the time, right?
Everyone thinks they're the perfect borrower. I mean, the people that think that I'm a terrible borrower, my credit's terrible, they actually end up being okay.
Right, they're the best.
It's the one that thinks that, oh, I have no problems. You're like, well, your credit's an issue, the income, so a lot of things going on. The second thing that I think is a critical reason to go for a good loan officer in a good company with a good reputation is that when you go to buy a house, typically you have to present with the offer a pre-approval letter. Okay. And a lot of companies, they just hand these things out like napkins, pre-approval letters. And a pre-approval is supposed to be something where you've collected the documents, you've ran credit, you've ran it through an automated underwriting service, and it's been underwritten. And a pre-approval letter should come from an underwriter. And a lot of times in our industry, it comes from the loan officer. The salesperson. The pre-approval is done by the salesperson who who will grasp at straws, especially if they don't have a lot of business, to try to make something maybe work, right? And this is why you have to work with a good loan officer with a good reputation that's local, is because when you present a pre-approval letter from someone that doesn't have the best reputation, you might not win that property. Someone else with a better, more reputable lender or loan officer might win the bid on that property, even at a lower purchase price, right? So a pre-approval from a bad lender, it might have been easy for you to get, and that's the first red flag, but it might actually cost you money, the property, and definitely time.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the sellers might see that offer come in and be like you said, it might be lower, but they don't want to deal with the problems that can come from it and just all the complications that can arise. Yeah,
so that pre-approval has a lot to do with the network. If that loan officer, has a great reputation, that's going to weigh favorably for the borrower who's using that pre-approval letter, and especially if they're a good loan officer at a good company. You can be a good loan officer at a bad company, and that's going to cause you problems eventually. Right. You can be a bad loan officer at a good company, which that's probably better off than a good loan officer at a bad company. But the other things is that you have a higher likelihood of success at a lower price with a better, more reputable pre-approval letter.
For sure.
The next thing is speed, right? Loans done quickly. A good loan officer will navigate this. If you have a 30-day or less transaction time, right now most lenders can do that because a lot of lenders have a lower volume right now in production. But when the times get tough, I know as a company, we like to maintain that 10 days or less on your fully approved file. Well, a lot of lenders, that goes out the window, right? Time and speed goes out the window. A good loan officer will be quick to communicate. They'll have a plan for your loan and say, listen, this is what's going to happen, and you need to stay within this guideline. And they'll keep a good borrower on track to work within that time frame to get them closed on time. They have a proven process. Yeah. I know at our company, on every single loan, we send out a calendar of events that's going to show you exactly what happens from start to finish on that loan. So whether you're the borrower, the list agent, the buyer's agent, the title company, or the insurance company, everyone's kept in the loop. And it shows you the plan and the speed in which we do things. And that's pretty rare. I don't think I've ever seen another company that consistently does it, especially for 22 years like we have. And this isn't a pitch about Morgan Financial. I'm just saying this is what's possible out there.
Yeah.
You're typically not going to get that from your big bank lenders. You'll be lucky to even get them on the phone.
Yeah. And as someone who created some of those timelines, I understand how desired they are and how valuable they are to all parties, including us. Sometimes like, hey, man, this is the track that we're going to try and shoot for and follow through with.
I don't. Not many people do those timelines, and I'll tell you, this company's been in business 22 years, and that has been, I'd say, one of the biggest factors. People depend on them, that way they don't have to chase us down. They know they're going to get updated every Friday from the loan officer. A good loan officer will update them every Friday. It's mandatory that they update all parties on Fridays. And we send out the timelines, and they can set their calendar to them. And that consistency, and that loan officer's performance makes a big difference in transaction, which is another reason why, a good pre-approval from a good loan officer at a good company is definitely going to save the borrower time, money, and possibly the transaction.
Yeah, totally. Everything is kind of like a compounding effect, you know what I mean? Yeah. So.
And then another thing, the fourth and final thing that I think is just absolutely paramount in a good loan officer is education and transparency. And it's not, here's your payment. It's, let's see what's the right payment for you. Let's look at all these things. But it's also explaining like what is the process? What is going to happen between now and closing? What do these disclosures mean? What are you signing? If the loan officer is just like, here's a bunch of things for you to sign, let me know what you think. that's not really good service. And a lot of these big companies are like, oh, they can just DocuSign them and it's, as long as they sign them. But our loan officers go through that with the borrower to explain to them what they're signing, what these documents mean, what the numbers mean, where they come from, what may differ, what won't differ,
Yeah.
And it's this education piece that really helps our borrowers, even ones that are very intelligent, well prepared. They don't do this every day, nor can they be expected to know the breadth of knowledge, our loan officers know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so if they're just taking an order, the loan officers, which is what happens at a lot of the big banks and a lot of the, the big lenders out there, they just take an order. There's a huge field of things that are missed. There's a huge bunch of potential. Is this the right, this loan officer gets to look inside someone's, financial situation. It's a huge opportunity to give them good advice. They don't have to take the advice, but you give them options about how to improve their situation, right? And if you're going to a big box, like I said, some of the other big companies that advertise a lot, you're just going to get an order taker that's going to, be like you going into the doctor saying, hey, this is what I need. Yeah. When the doctor has a good doctor will have way more experience and make a better determination and help that borrower make a more informed decision than they would otherwise.
Yeah, I think this is a huge point because, right, it's most people's probably their biggest purchase
typically
of their whole life. You know what I mean? And I have an engineering degree, so I have that mind. Like I would want every detail, every piece of education that I could get. And I think that's a huge part of the whole process.
Yeah, I agree. And then that transparency piece it's not telling them some of the truth. It's telling them the whole truth.
The whole truth, yeah.
And not what's right for the company, but what's right for the borrower. And that's the key thing is that, we give people options. Our loan officers are trained to let people make the decisions, but just give them all the information to make the best decision for them. Not the best decision that's going to benefit the lender or that loan officer. Loan officers typically get paid the same regardless of what they do. Yeah. But to give people options that benefit them, that's the key. Whose interest is that loan officer looking out after, right?
Yeah, totally.
Well, look, there's probably a lot of things I'm missing on this one. A good loan officer can make or break a transaction. They can give the borrower options they didn't even know that they had to review to maybe better their situation. If you go to a loan officer that just takes your order, you're going to get what you pay for there, so to speak. And you might get exactly what you want, but you won't know the other options out there. Maybe you're okay with that. That's fine. But a good loan officer, like I said, that works for a good company can make the difference of you winning the deal, maybe saving a ton of money and putting yourself in a better situation. So that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to like and share. Hit that like button down there, hit the subscribe button, and we like to see you next time. Talk to you soon.